So either way, with the final boss dead, let's talk about it. Let's do a review. Now we are well past the review embargo. Actually, we're not. When did this game come out? Was it the 20th? Wukong release date August 20th, and today is August 31st. So it's not bad. 11 days to get through the full game, and I was traveling and I put 40 hours in, so it's about right. So to start, gameplay. I always like talking about gameplay. I'm gonna lower this because I have a very strong feeling it's gonna get hit by copyright claim. There's been music getting claimed by some company out of China. So in terms of gameplay, I will say I enjoyed it. I do think the lack of real combo differences between stances was a little bit of a letdown, you know, because our stances at the end of the day, they were essentially just evolutions in our heavy attacks. I mean, there's to be fair, there's a little more than that, you know, like smash stance, it was good with pass through. The thrust stance, I had the jump back into the whirling thrust. The pillar stance, you know, I could balance on it and do a little bit of AoE, but, you know, in terms of the effectiveness of those stances against bosses and what you're going to be able to use, I think it really came down to, oh, you know, you have see-through on smash stance, you have see-through on thrust stance. Thrust, you can get the instant forward drop out, and then pillar, I mean, you can hit the big pillar, but like you can't utilize a lot of pillar because you're not getting hyper armor or anything during your spin. So I feel like that kind of fell apart. The credits are wigging out, man. I don't know what's going on there. So I did have fun with the core gameplay, but I think it could have been evolved a little bit. You know, kind of looking at our various spirit skills and whatnot. I mentioned previously that reminded me a little bit of Neo. I think it would have been cool if if they had made the spirit skills a little weaker, but allowed you to work in more. I think it would have let you really make a build come to life, you know? Because especially looking at the spirits, there were a ton of different spirits that had bonuses around elemental damage or boosting, you know, fire damage or poison or whatever the case is. And with only having access to one slot, you know, that's a pretty hard sell, you know, because they usually, hey, here's a very situational passive that is only going to help you some of the time and an ability that might be good. But, you know, especially with my playstyle where I was going for seal for a lot of it, you know, obviously I was mostly concerned with passive, but if I had been able to put on multiple, I might have considered doing like a hyper burn build with that one burn staff or something along those lines. So another area that I think they could have improved it, but I liked the relics, the quick items. In terms of the straight controls, everything was very smooth. I had a little bit of trouble summoning the spirit, like of course at the very end of the game. I'm like, okay, well, even though it says hit both, if I just do right trigger then left trigger, it seems to work 100% of the time. So we're just doing that. But yeah, you know, nothing like getting to the end of the game before that clicks. What can you do? All in all, though, I mean, I enjoyed the gameplay a lot. I think I don't know if I would put it quite as high as like Sekiro was for me in terms of the raw gameplay, just because it did end up getting, I don't want to say spam heavy, but you know, a lot at the end was like, do your light combo, dump your heavy, do your light combo, dump your heavy. I think it could have, I don't know, I think there's a couple different areas they could have evolved it, but I'm also keeping in mind this is, you know, one of the first AAA games we've seen out of China in a long time. And certainly the first AAA game from the studio. So I think, given that constraint, I think they did an excellent job. In terms of story, honestly, I was kind of disappointed, and not because I don't like the story of Journey to the West. In fact, I would love to learn more about it, but I feel like there was so many just missed opportunities to really dive deep into the story, to really give more lore. And I mean, if you're going through the encyclopedia, you're going to get some lore here and there, but you know, we're fighting all these Yao Gai, and there's all these different relationships going on, and I feel like the game relied very heavily on you already having some prior knowledge of Journey to the West. And so without that, you know, a lot of it just like you're just kind of lost. Like, I mean, it's still a fun story, and I was still enjoying it, but I mean, there were more cutscenes than not where I was like, I'm not entirely sure what's going on here. I like what I'm seeing, but Like, you know, a perfect example is the end of chapter 5, when there was the whole, like, Wukong and Bajie, they went and it looked like they killed the concubine, but the concubine was okay. And I'm just like, bro, what is happening? Like, I don't understand the timeline at all. And I want to, you know? I know y'all think like, oh, Cowboy just dives into games, but I consume stories very quickly, and I'd like to understand them and understand what's going on, and then come up with ideas on like, okay, well, I think this is the, you know, this is what's going to happen at the end with the boss. But there was so much more that I would have liked to understand that I just didn't get to. And I really think that's a missed opportunity, you know? When you compare this to, I think the main competitors for this, I wouldn't put it near Souls at all. I think it's a very different game, but to me, this is China's take on like Final Fantasy, on God of War. I do think those early comparisons I heard are fairly accurate. You know, we have a big action adventure, and comparatively speaking to those, I think they do a much better job at aiming to tell the stories they were trying to tell, whereas here there was just, I was left with a lot that I would like to know more. And I mean, maybe that's their goal. Maybe they want you to you know, hey, pick up Journey to the West. It's translated, read it. But it just, you know, it very much felt like an area where there certainly could have been improvement, for sure. This is enter a new cycle. I'm getting the sound back. Destined One can enter a new cycle, embark, new cycle, inherit levels, talents, armor, weapons, spells, vessels, transformation, spirit skills. However, be aware that story progress and key items will be relinquished. Good. It's a perfect new game plus. This is one of the kind of games where I'm fine with them looping you into new game plus. I don't think that's an issue with this style of game. Graphics, I think graphics were fantastic. There were a couple little, you know, little hiccups there, especially towards the end, like little stuff with the shadows. But I mean, overall, you know, graphics were phenomenal. I think this is probably one of the better showcases of, actually this I might even say this is one of the best showcases, probably the best showcase I've seen of Unreal Engine in action in a game of this scale. You know, because like, sure, Hellblade looks great, but we covered it. It's a fucking walking simulator, and we are running all over the place with this. And I think they did a pretty good job. Obviously, I have a beefy rig, so I didn't run into any issues there, but I thought that the game, the visual design, all of that was very, very good. Same with, well, sound design I'm a little split on. I think sound design itself, like audio cues, sound effects, were very good. Music, for the most part, I don't, like, there's no tracks that really stood out to me. And I think the one, oh, no, that's not true. That's not true. Act 2, that dude was jamming out. That dude that was the headless guy on the guitar, that guy was top notch. That was the best music in the entire game. But then we had like the boss at the end of chapter 5, and it felt like a Dragon Ball fight song. And I'm like, this feels, you know, really out of place. This is supposed to be like the culmination, and she was like forced to drink from a river to give birth to this child, and it's the last of the demons and the Rakshas, which I think are demons. I'm not entirely sure. And the music just felt really out of place. So a little bit of a mixed bag, but Act 2 guy, you fucking killed it. If you ever see this video, you carried the music for this game. In terms of world design, I definitely have some complaints. So the game, the way it's designed, it looks beautiful. And you start exploring and you're like, whoa, this is way more open than I thought. But then inevitably, you come upon a wall. You're like, oh, it's an invisible wall here, okay? And you keep going, and there's an invisible wall. And you keep going, and there's an invisible wall. And eventually you find a path, and it's, hey, look, there's a mini-boss. And then the cycle repeats. And you're just like, you know, looking all over. And to be honest, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They should have just made a fucking map. I don't know why they didn't. You know, most games of this type, I mean, Elden Ring has a fucking map. I know it's not like, you know, doesn't show where you're at on the map, but even a map like that would have done wonders for this game, just to have a general idea of the zone as you're navigating it, where you're supposed to go. In God of War, we have a map. Final Fantasy, we have a map. It felt really weird to not include the map here, because as a result, we were effectively just like, you know, we were like a ping pong ball, like looking for the invisible walls to bounce off of to figure out where we could go next. And I think that as a result of that, like, yeah, there's going to be a couple bosses that most people are going to miss unless they're going through with a checklist of the various bosses. There's going to be secrets that you're probably going to overlook. And I don't think it's because, you know, I'm not going for secrets, because I think I did a pretty good job. You know, there was a lot of people fucking crying early in this series, and you know, we did the secret final boss. We did the secret pill shit. We did fucking bosses. We did a lot of bosses. What was our final number at? Like 90, 95? Let me see. Do I have my, no, it's just the music library. Music videos. The music videos, oh, quick. These were fucking awesome. I thought these were very good. I liked those a lot. Those were cool. But yeah, we did a fair amount of bosses and treasures and stuff. I think I would be, you know, for my only playthrough of this, I'm satisfied with how that ended up. But yeah, they really needed a map. They need it. It felt so weird. Just all the fucking invisible walls. It broke the immersion a bit, which was really the opposite of, I think, what they were trying to go for with how just beautiful the map is. It was very, you know, I think it would have been better if, you know, you get to those invisible walls, and instead of it just being invisible wall, it's like, hey, here's a, you know, massive trees that you can't get past, or like rocks or something, or it's a cliff ledge, you know, very much a finite, sorry, you can't go that way. As opposed to just, nope, here's an invisible barrier you're going to bounce off of. That felt kind of weird. Besides that, general exploration, I think it felt good. There was a fair amount of like contextual clues from NPCs to help find stuff. I think they did an okay job there. I think at the end, by Jay, kind of like, follow me, and then just fucking off. That was a little like, where are you going, bro? In fact, chapter 6, I think, was the weakest chapter by far, minus the very end with the boss fight. It felt, you know, we got through a Supreme Inspector, and then we're just kind of like wandering for a solid chunk of time, and eventually we started finding bosses and doing stuff, but it was a whole lot of just like, I guess I'm gonna go this way, and that part did not feel good, especially coming off of the high of defeating Erlang. Going from that to suddenly just wandering around, twiddling with your dick, looking for something to kill was, you know, it was like you get all the way up to the top of the roller coaster, you're rushing down it, you're like, woo! And then after the rush down, instead of it going up for another drop, it just like goes straight and it hits like a little bump, and then it keeps going straight for a while. And eventually we got to like Stone Monkey and the shell fight, and that was good. But the in-between did not feel all that good. Chapter strengths, one felt pretty good. 2, I liked a lot. 3, I was not a fan of the jail pagoda and the snow. Honestly, I felt like it was just, there was a lot of shit. It was very easy to get lost. 4, I really liked the spider level, and then I really liked the lava level. I like that they pulled that in, you know, easy way to snag biome diversity, which was really nice. But 6 and 3 were definitely the weakest, I felt. I mean, there was some stuff in 6 that was kind of cool, but, and some stuff in 3. But, you know, if we're comparing the chapters, I think those are the weakest by far. Difficulty, I think, felt fine. If anything, probably, well, I don't want to say it was too easy, because then people are going to be like, you don't fucking understand how long I had to fight this boss that you just killed on your second try. So, well, to say the difficulty was good. I play games as a job. It's expected that I should be able to do this with some kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Consistency, I guess? I don't know. All in all, though, if I had to score this, honestly, I'm probably, I don't like giving half points. I don't like giving half points, but this is probably between a 4 and a 5 for me. Like, if we were to put it on a 10-point scale, I would definitely put this at a 9 out of 10. I think there's a really solid game here with really good bones. It ran good, it looks good, sounds good, plays good, but I think there's just a lot of little things that they could have done different. And I mean, you know, if we're going to give them a slight pass because it's their first game, I think it's fair to bump this up to a 5 out of 5. If you're on the more critical side of like, this shit has been done before, y'all should have known better, you'll probably lean more towards the 4 out of 5. But yeah, I mean, it was a very solid game. And at the end of the day, I think the most important part of the recommendation is I would recommend this. If people are like, you know, is this worth getting? Should I play it? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what did I say? What's the Steam playthrough at? We're at yeah, I'm coming up on 40 hours in like a week. Like, yeah, I don't That's the weirdest thing about this playthrough. I've had people that are like, man, Cowboy's not enjoying this. He's rushing through it. Like, dude, I was going fast because I had to fucking catch up. I was out of town and I missed the launch. I got to play for like 6 hours and then I had to board on a plane. Like, I'm not rushing because I dislike it. I'm rushing because I'm like, I want to play more. I don't spend 40 hours a week doing something if I don't enjoy it. That much should be obvious. But anyway, yeah, I guess this will wrap it up. To close out, I know a lot of people keep asking about the walkthrough. As of now, I do not have plans for a walkthrough for this. This was a first playthrough, and just with like a couple quick Googles here and there, I feel like I got everything I wanted to get. I got the secret ending, I got the hidden bosses. You know, a lot of this stuff is very easy to look up. I don't really think a full walkthrough that guides you through, you know, here's where to find every chest, here's where to get every curio. I don't feel it's really that necessary, you know? I kind of stumbled blindly through the first half of the game and did fine, and only started looking up shit I missed because people are like, you missed those secret bosses, go get them. But like, for the most part, I mean, you just kind of comb the map. It didn't really feel hard. And I think just to talk about that a little bit, I mean, people are like, you don't want to talk, you don't want to do the walkthrough, but like, you understand, this just wrapped up. We have Space Marine 2, we have Astrobot, we have what's it called, that new Souls like that everyone kept asking me about that comes out in September, and Toria. I'm leaving for vacation with my kids because it's my son's birthday, so I'm gone for a week with that. And then once we get into October, you know, we got Metaphor, we got Dragon Age. Like, if this game had released early August when I had nothing to do and I was playing WoW and Magic for a month, yeah, there's a possibility I might have done a walkthrough. But like, there's just, you know, there's just no time. That's what it boils down to, is frankly, there's no time, and it would be fucked up if I decided to dick over all these other games that I had coverage plans for to spend the next month making a walkthrough for something that, frankly, I got through fine, and I don't think it's really needed. You know, people are like, well, there's secrets, so you need a walkthrough. But I think one of the big things to keep in mind is, like, part of the reason I do the Souls walkthroughs is because it's not just about secrets. It's about the fact that it's very punishing, and everywhere you look is something that is not only trying to kill you, but also make you lose the resources you use to level up and play the game. By comparison, yes, there's secrets here, but it's very forgiving. You don't lose anything. You can freely respec. I mean, God, we got to the final boss, we lost. I was like, okay, we're going back to the Unga Bunga build. It took, you know, 30 seconds, and I had a different build, and I beat him on my second try. That level of freedom makes this a much more casual, approachable game. And there's nothing wrong with that. But because of that, I don't really think it falls into the category where, you know, you need somebody guiding you through every step of the way. I think you can just kind of push your way through with a little bit of changes here and there and have a good time. But I certainly had a good time. So either way, we're going to wrap things up. In terms of the next series coming up, it will most likely be Space Marine 2. But I'm going to try and get reviews for both that and Astrobot up. So we'll see what ends up on the channel. But either way, thanks for watching. Appreciate y'all joining me on this journey, and I will catch you next time with whatever else we start.